Throughout history, we have seen different stocks, different asset classes, and different regions of the world experience a bubble. Hot money flows inward and expands the bubble further and further until one day a loud popping sound is heard, followed by the cries heard loud and clear from every investor. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. Let's begin by looking at this chart. You are seeing the different bubbles over time going back to 1977, where we have gold rising and falling, Japan, Thailand, and so on going through until today, the e-commerce. So whether that is Amazon or any other stocks, you can see these rising and rising and rising, going to new heights, going into bubble territory. And many people have different definitions of what bubbles are, and that is generally always argued upon until it's all said and done, and it could be traced on charts like this. Nobody sees it when they're in the middle of it, and of course this will continue. Look at this. With no effort on their part, the biggest British businesses may see pension deficits that have burdened them for years be practically wiped out if long-term bond yields rise 50 basis points in the next year, and the budget for slowing gains of life expectancy, according to the estimates of this New York-based consultancy, goes on. The Bank of England is expected to raise interest rates by that amount in November 2018, and remains to be seen if that affects long-term bonds. And you could see this has actually declined recent months here, and that is very, very good for those with pensions. Pension deficits of the FTSE 350 companies have subsided since the Brexit-driven surge. I don't believe that pensions will be a thing of the future. I think that a lot of these companies will experience these deficits and will not be able to pay back. They will cut, and they will cut, and they will cut. They can use any excuse if they want to say it's Brexit or whatever, but you're looking at stocks doing rather well, especially the few that central banks are buying up. And yet, somehow, they've claimed that the pensions are within a deficit. It doesn't really make sense when you just take a moment to look at the data. They should be rising. Bloomberg Global City Housing Affordability Index, this is the least affordable places. Now, I had expected to see Vancouver and Toronto on this list, but unfortunately, I was wrong. Caracas being the #1 spot. And of course, you have to take into account the average monthly housing cost as a percentage of your pay. So they're not earning anything, even though they have increased the wages several times. It doesn't add up. You look at how much they're paying for rent, you look at what they're earning, and the costs are completely out of whack. It just shows you that countries in a state of turmoil experience it, as the individual. It's not the government that you have to worry about, it's the individual. And you're looking at all kinds of places. I mean, you're looking at India here, you're looking at Kiev, you're looking at Moscow, Rio de Janeiro, Beijing, Shanghai, and so many others. Compare what the average person makes to what the average person has to spend. And if you look on the same page here, basically Bloomberg, if you type this into Google or to a search engine, you will get this. But essentially, you will see the actually most affordable, and I found that Basel in Switzerland is on the most affordable list. And essentially, they're getting paid so much as the average salary that they can afford their extremely expensive housing and expenses. Just always keep in mind what things cost and then what the average salary is, or the median household income. Technology, now this one here connects in a little bit of what I got into in the previous video I just posted about Google. Technology companies, including Facebook and Amazon, spent more than $10 million on federal lobbying in the third quarter. And it goes on. Amazon spent $3 million. its biggest quarter in at least 9 years on tax policy, cloud, security, and computing, and others. Facebook spent $3 million. And it goes on here. So essentially what we have is legal bribery that is taking place by these corporations. They are allowed to do whatever they need to do. They get whatever they want. And of course, the government is willing to help them out. But there's also gifts that are being given from these corporations to the governments. They give all the information that these governments want. Anything they want, it's theirs. If they decide that they want somebody blocked, they block them. If they decide they want certain content blocked, they block it. And it's just the way it goes. So I don't even think they need to bribe them, but it's just interesting to say the least. Shrinking margin. High yield bonds are offering less and less relative to the earnings yield on US stocks. Can you believe it now? That you can see this convergence that's occurring. Well, typically you would look at high yield bonds, different debt instruments that are garbage, and so what did they do? They basically are given higher yields on them, right? You're going to get a better return if you're taking on more risk. But the S&P has been yielding more than these high yield garbage debt. In fact, what they were saying was that these fund managers that are getting into the junk bonds, basically, they are now purchasing more and more of equities because it's simply doing much better than their extremely risky so-called assets. That shows you something. In San Francisco, where no automobile parked on the street is immune from glass-smashing thieves, some people have taken to posting signs on car windows announcing that there are no valuable items inside. You can see some pictures on this website here, but basically it's just saying they show you actually the signs. People put it in their door, just say there's nothing in here, don't bother. A lot of people are having their cars smashed. This is going on in Toronto. I'm sure it's going on in most cities around the world. They come in, they look for change, they look for iPhones and iPods and anything valuable that they can sell, and sometimes they break in, there's nothing there, they just keep going and they go to the next car. And I'm sure by the end of the night they could get one or two things that they deem useful. Don't you think that if the economy was doing well, that it was all it said it's supposed to be, that this would be so minimal, so infinitesimal, that you wouldn't even hear about it? Instead, you have people putting signs on their windows in San Francisco, the same place where rent has become so expensive that even good wage earners are struggling. Where you're looking at San Francisco, a place that is completely out of whack with most other cities in the US, things have gone crazy, particularly evident with real estate. And many, many people have been pushed into poverty as a result. If the economy was really doing well, then that wouldn't be the case. You wouldn't have this. But that's not the way it works. The middle class is disappearing, and you're seeing a select few people that are appearing at the top, everyone else down below. That's all for this video. If you found it informative, please give me a thumbs up. I really do appreciate your thumbs up. I appreciate all the support that I've been getting. Thank you very much. If you want to look through my books, you can do so. Links are in the description below. Take care.